Hello everybody, this is Johnny S with another vlog, GSX-R vlog. In today's video we're going to talk about our beautiful GSX-R 1000 K5 moto. It's an awesome, amazing bike, and today we're going to get a little bit more on the technical specification of this bike. So we'll start with the displacement of the engine. We're talking about a 998cc, in other words a liter bike. We're talking about 18 liters at the top. So the fuel tank capacity is 18 liters. We're talking about a 16 valve inline 4-cylinder with fuel injection engine. And the chassis is a cast aluminium chassis. It involves from 3 parts. There's one part which goes down, 2 parts goes from here, and the swing arm. So there's 3 parts which make up the chassis, let's say. It's an aluminium case chassis. The gearbox consists of a 6 gears gearbox, 1 down, all up. The rest are 5 up. It has a slipper clutch. Slipper clutch is very important because it reduces the back wheel hop, especially on downshifting, so the engine braking is not passed down to the wheel, let's say. It's got fully adjustable suspension, so there's a Kayaba forks, upside down reversed Kayaba forks. When you say upside down, you mean that the top part is on the top side and the bottom is on the bottom side. It is diamond coated, so it's diamond coated like, which reduces the friction of the forks. At the back, similarly, Kayaba, the kickoff calipers at the front. We're talking about 310 millimeters discs at the front with a 4-piston caliper. So the 4-piston, meaning 2 pistons on this side and 2 pistons on the other side, is basically how many pistons the calipers have in order to apply the force on the brake caliper. Since it's a dual piston, meaning 2 from this side and 2 from this side, each caliper consists of 4 pistons. Some bikes have 3 pistons, 6 pistons in total. Some bikes have 1 piston. The more pistons, the better the force is applied. Then the more even the force is applied. So it's got quite good brakes. We've added high tension front cables, so high tension steel front cables in order to increase the pressure of the front. The back ones are the classic, let's say, brakes. There's no need to put high tension tubes on the back because it's a more of a softer fuel, let's say. It's got 220 millimeter discs at the back with the 2 pistons. So there's 1 piston on each side of the calipers. As far as tire wise goes, the front are 120 by 70. 17 inches radius on all of them, on both front and back. It's the most common that you'll find in bikes. So 120/70 and 190/50 profile at the back. So when you're saying 170, you're talking about the widthness of the tire, and when you're talking about the profile, you're talking about the thickness, from the floor, the profile of the tire. The fact that it has 190 and 50 profile at the back, it means it's much wider, and it means that it's much lower the profile. So when you're leaning over on the turns, there's not much movement of the tire. That actually helps get a feedback and a feel of what the bike actually, is happening on the road, whether you're giving it too much throttle or too less throttle. The ride height is 81 centimeters, or some people measure them in millimeters, or 110 or 81 centimeters. It's one of the lowest, let's say, sitting bikes, including the foot pegs. So the foot peg placement is quite low and a very narrow bike. So the seat is very narrow, and so are the foot pegs. It's got a full exhaust titanium system, which comes from the factory, which means it's road regulated as per year model. It starts with 4 titanium headers. It goes to 2 mid pipes, cross section, which goes to 1 wider pipe, and then the end system, the slip-on, let's say that's called it. It's at the moment wearing the Yoshimura end pipe. It's also got an ECU flash modification in order for it to accompany for this change. Usually when you have a free flow, let's say, exhaust system, you do need to make some changes on the ECU. We're not talking about car commanders, we're not talking about mappings, we're not talking about increasing the power. What you care is proper behavior of the bike. If you do not tune the ECU, and there is a trick where they flash the ECU, and they're able to, let's put a lampa sort of jump a sensor. It's actually tricking the ECU in order to fix the values to have a predetermined value that will take care of the free exhaust. Some people also change the air filter. We have not done any change as such. So it's wearing the factory air filter, the factory titanium system, but it does have a modification on the ECU to allow for better performance and behavior. But the main concept here is behavior rather than performance. You're not going to get a lot of performance. I mean, it's already a full, full titanium system exhaust. But the only thing that you want is not to burn rich or pure when it comes to the mixture, when it comes to all these things. Hence why this modification. Now, if we're going to talk a little bit about power figures, just to give an understanding, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but I'll just explain a little bit more. The numbers do vary, so depending on the size, depending on the testings, depending on many things. But we're talking in general about 180 horsepower. And 180 horsepower on the engine on a 20-year bike, it's a 2005 model, is a lot of power. So what Suzuki did is amazing. They were able to manufacture a bike which really is the peak of the performance, let's say. In the olden days, and we're going to have a separate video where we're going to talk about the history of the bike, but in the older days there was not much regulations, emissions, and so forth, and companies were pushing more for performance, they were pushing more for values. There was a lot of competition between companies, and Suzuki actually made one of their miracle bikes in 2005, which destroyed all the other competition. So we're talking about a lot of horsepower. This horsepower translates to around 160 on the wheel, and again, it depends. These numbers do vary on test, and they do vary on the years of the bike and the quality of the bike. When you have a bike which is 20 years old, the performance on the cylinders does drop a little bit, so you might see instead of 100%, you get 98%, 97%. It's expected, it's nothing bad, but the performance does drop. And obviously, the better you maintain your bike, the better quality you keep your bike, and the better, let's say, the status of the bike, the better it is, and the more you keep up with your maintenance and so forth, the better power you're going to get transferred across. So that's the power figures when it comes to horsepower. When it comes to torque, we're talking about 118 Newton meters around. Whether it's on the engine or whether it's on the chassis, I'm not sure, but these are the figures which are given by Suzuki. It's a lot of torque, you know what I mean? And just to put things a little bit in perspective, because we talk about numbers, when you're talking about the horsepower, you're talking about 160. Let's keep the 160 since we're talking about the rear wheel. The R6, my R6, which was a 2006 model, Yamaha R6, it was producing around 110, I would say. Some people say 117, some people say 120, 110. I'm going to keep it roughly on 110. So from 110 to 160, it's another 50 horsepower, which means it's around 1/3 more. It's a lot. It's a lot to put a lot of power which goes onto the wheel. And most 600 bikes, they're around there. Some of them are a little bit newer technology, some of them have a little bit less, some are a little bit more. The R6 was one of the more powerful, let's say, bikes when it came to the horsepower. Now, when you're talking about torque, just to give an understanding, my R6 produced around 46 Newton meters of torque. And now we're talking about 118, so it's more than double. You can understand that this is the biggest difference of the bike, and you can sense that when you're driving the bike, especially when you're changing gear or when you have higher gears, when you do not need to downshift, you're more comfortable, you're able to produce and apply the power that you want quickly on the road, and you can overtake a car if need be without going into the process of downshifting. What gear am I in? Sixth gear, you're doing 110 on the road, and there's a car and you want to pass it. Just open the gas, you know what I mean? It has so much torque that it is able and allows you to pass. And in some cases, it is a safety issue as well. You know what I mean? Obviously, we all like bikes. We like the adrenaline, we like the acceleration, the speed, but we're talking about now the usability and the capability of the bike. And we're talking about in a sense of that it has the capability to get you out of a tight circumstance if need be. When it comes to, let's compare it to a naked bike. So my Z750, Kawasaki Z750 2004 model, it was working around 70 Newton meters of torque. So it's a lot more, but it's a 750cc bike. So it's relatively on the low side, let's say, meaning that this is already almost double. So the Kawasaki R6N, which is a 650, has the Versus engine. It's a two-cylinder, which means it's quite torquey of a bike, of a naked bike. It's rocking around between 50 and 60 Newton meters of torque. So that gives you an understanding a little bit of what it's like. Some like 900cc bikes, touring bikes, BMW GS, we're talking about this type of bikes, they're close to the 90s torque, which is quite closer, let's say, to what a super sport is. But they don't have by no means the horsepower. And in some cases, you see the horsepower figures are even less than what the torque. And the purpose of those bikes is that they need to be a lot of torquey, so that means that they need to apply a lot of force on the tire, but they're not able to apply this force when it comes to high revolutions, so the engine is designed in a different manner. The 1000cc little super sport bikes usually are designed for performance, means that they have a lot of torque and a lot of horsepower, which is basically the combination that you're looking for when we're talking about performance and purely performance. It is a claimed speed of 297. I am looking at some of my notes because I don't remember them by heart, but I have seen people that are walking 300 kilometers per hour and so forth. Obviously, like I said, don't do this on the roads, keep safe. But these are the claimed figures. And the last figure I'll mention, actually the second last figure I'll mention, is that it is able to do 0 to 100. Some people measure the quarter mile, some people measure it differently. It is able to do 0 to 100 in around 2.8 seconds. Some people have measured 2.6, but again, like I said, that's on the driver, that's on the circumstance. We're getting a whole bunch of numbers and we're averaging them out. Usually this is what companies do. This is what reviewers do. MCN is a famous magazine slash channel which has done for many years a lot of reviews on this bike, and they also do their tests, and they came out with around a 2.8 second figure from 0 to 100, which is a lot of acceleration. And if we're going to compare this power to the latest models of Suzuki, it is actually decreased. And one of the key factors, which is going to be the last thing that I'm going to mention, is the weight. The weight of the bike is amazingly light. It's 166 kilos, meaning that my R6 was 162. And in general, the 600 Super Sports are around the 160 mark. So when you're talking about 166 kilos, you're talking about 6 kilos more than what a 600 is. So they managed to make a very light bike, simultaneously providing all the power that it needs. And this is the fine balance that Suzuki actually achieved when it came to this bike. And this is one of the most important things. This is what I wanted to mention about how everything has to do with conjunction with something else. To have a bike which is very powerful and has a lot of, let's say it's a touring bike and it has a lot of torque, it doesn't mean a lot if the application of the torque is done in a different manner. Similarly, when you're talking about a lot of horsepower with not a lot of torque, like the R6, you're going to feel it losing something else. Similarly, when you're talking about a 1,300cc bike, when you're talking about Hayabusa, but you're talking about a lot of weight, a lot of things, again, this is going to minus from the performance. Hence why they say that the balance of the 1,000cc Super Sport is the absolute when it comes to performance, because it's that gold rule between 1-to-1, let's say, power to weight ratio. And we're talking about power to weight ratio here, which has been achieved. So if you talk about the number which is on the wheel, we're talking about around 160 horsepower, and you're talking about the dry weight of the bike, we're talking about 166. It is close to 1-to-1. As far as technology goes, it doesn't have any traction, any electronics in it. It's an old school bike, let's say. But nevertheless, it's very good. It does have the things that it needs to have. Talking about a stabilizer, a steering damper, some people call it. Talking about the slipper clutch, talking about things as such which make it safe. And the application of the brakes, obviously, to keep you, to manage its power. And we'll have other videos. We'll talk about the history and what the application of this power is and how they achieved what they achieved, and what an awesome job, Suzuki did when it comes to this bike. That's about it, I think. If I have forgotten something, I'm going to leave it in the comments just to keep things simple and short so we don't go overboard. I'd like to thank everybody for your time, and I'll bid you goodbye. Goodbye.